Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Flapjack here, and today we're gonna go through a StarCraft 2 unit tier list. I know, imagine. So we got all of our units here, we got our tiers set up. These don't appear to be in any particular order. Alphabetical probably would have been cool, but you know, them's the breaks. Alright, so let's see here. Hellbat. You don't see a lot of them. Hellbat is pretty not great. I mean, I don't know if I want to put it in D tier necessarily. They have some use against Zerg, right? And you might see them with like Thor, Hellbat play, but yeah, you're not gonna see them too much in TVT or TVP. So I feel like C tier is about right for the Hellbat, yeah? Disruptor. I know a lot of people would think that Disruptor goes straight into OP, but it doesn't have a default attack, it doesn't have more than one ability, and if you miss your shot, you're kinda boned. So I feel like Disruptor kinda belongs in A tier. Yeah, I think A tier for now is a pretty good. I mean, it's obviously really powerful, but it's not the end all be all. Lurker is OP or S tier. I think that just kind of goes without saying. Lurkers win on the ground against pretty much everything. You definitely got to do some gymnastics to root them out or to beat lurkers or to get around them. So yeah, lurkers OP for sure. Mothership is D tier, 400. It does cloak stuff, but I don't know if you've ever actually like loaded up a mothership in unit tester and like watched it fight. It actually doesn't do that much damage. It's kind of like sprinkles on top of the ice cream of the Skytoss fleet, right? But yeah, I think Mothership is. I think it's pretty safe to put that in D tier. Ultralisk. Ultralisk. Yeah, they have use, and they did just recently get a buff. They finagle into squeeze into new spaces a bit easier than they did before. So they're actually able to get like more surface area on their attacks and stuff. But I really don't think it's good enough to belong in B tier. And I think they're better than Hellions, so for now the Ultra's gonna live at the top of C tier. It has some uses. It's not like complete trash, but it's not great. Up next we have the Adept. This one is tricky, man. Does it belong at the bottom of B tier? Is this our first B tier unit? No, I think it's still C tier. Here's the thing. Adepts are great for harass in every matchup, and you can also do an all-in with them versus Zerg, and that's pretty much it. If the Adept, I mean, it does 22 damage per shot versus Light, right? If that number was 23, the Adept would immediately go into A tier, if not OP. Because then it would two-shot Marines, it would two-shot SCVs, and you might see it like glaive upgrades actually be a part of like the actual army that you play with. But that's not the case. They're very rarely, if ever, a part of the main army. So it's C tier. And you might say, well, you know, you get a Forge and get +1, and then they do that much damage, which is true. Usually by that point in the game, your opponent also has upgrades. They kind of cancel each other out. So yeah, I think we're gonna say Adept is C tier. Archons. Archons are solidly B tier. You know, they have a lot of health, or a lot of shields rather. And if you're gonna play ground versus Zerg, or in some instances versus Terran Bio. Archons can be pretty good. They're just not as good as you might think, you know? Because they're pretty friggin' expensive. They're pretty gas heavy. They do splash damage, but the radius is pretty small. So yeah, I'm just gonna say Archon is pretty solidly B tier. You'll see it in, you know, main army compositions. It's a, you know, it's a good like gas dump, but they're not amazing. Baneling is OP, 100%. It's possibly the best unit in the game. Even better than Lurkers, I would say. There's really no question about that. Just Banelings are friggin' unbelievably sick and OP. Banshees are kind of in the same realm as Adepts, where they're good for harassment, but then they kind of fall off. You don't really want to build an army of Banshees necessarily, or really ever. You're not going to see them in a lot of main army compositions. Like, they're good at harassing and stuff, and you know, they recently got a buff where Hyperflight Rotors is cheaper and stuff, but I almost want to put them in D tier, to be completely honest with you. They actually might be top of D tier. Banshees are kind of shit. They can ruin you if you don't see them coming. And they can win a game single-handedly if you don't have detection, but yeah, they're kind of trash, to be honest. So yeah, Banshee's top of D tier. I think that's fair. They're not worse than a mothership. Not much is, but yeah. Next up, we have the Battle Cruiser. The BCs are really actually pretty powerful. Anybody who plays them has sort of earned my contempt in a way. I'm gonna say they're an A tier unit. You know, BC's Yamato Cannon could one-shot a lot of other units. And with Teleport, you can kind of get them out of trouble anytime you're in like a tight spot. But they do cost 400, 300, I think. So they're really expensive. If they were any cheaper than that, I think they would go into OP territory. Between Yamato, Teleport, and SCV Repair, they definitely deserve A tier. Do they though? Or should they be a B tier unit, actually? The thing is that they're so expensive that getting a lot of them out at any point in time is kind of difficult, right? And then also, like, yeah. Like, if you don't realize that 20 minutes have passed in the game and your opponent's making 5 BCs at a time, then yeah, you're in trouble. But if you do realize that's what's happening, they're not too tough to counter. A lot of things can deal with battle cruisers pretty easily. So yeah, actually B tier. I think B tier is pretty fair for the BC. Broodlords. Broodlords got nerfed again with the Broodling change. So Broodlords are not what they used to be. They die straight up to Thors. You don't see them very often versus Protoss because 85-90% of Protosses will open Stargate. So making Broodlords is not really what it used to be. I mean, they can definitely win games. Yeah, how good are they though? I think Broodlords are kind of top of C tier, honestly. Like, you can definitely, or maybe bottom of B. Maybe bottom of B is actually better, because they can definitely zone and siege. That is like what they're supposed to do. They used to be kind of freaking amazing, and now they're just kind of okay, pretty good. But yeah, I feel like bottom of B tier is fair for the Broodlord. Okay, carriers. Definitely an A tier unit here, possibly OP even. The reason they're not OP, in my opinion, is that carriers by themselves get shredded. You really need support units with your carrier. If you're making just carriers, you're kind of in trouble, I think, because you know, a lot of units can get under a carrier and end it. And they also recently had their attack priority changed. Interceptors also come out of the carrier slower than they used to. So I feel like they're definitely still an A tier unit. In fact, I think they might be better than Disruptor. But yeah, top of A. They're not OP though. Yeah, I feel like that's pretty good. You will see a lot of carriers and a lot of, you know, end-game Protoss compositions, but I feel like top of A is about right. Okay, Colossus. This is B or even C tier. Colossus, you really only ever see it in Protoss versus Terran, and it's really only good in that matchup versus biocomps, and even then, if that biocomp is leaning more Marauder heavy, you're kind of gonna die. Actually, yeah, this might be controversial, but I'm actually gonna drop Colossus down to the top of C tier. And also Ultralisk is better than Adept. I think that's more accurate. They're good in PvT. You'll never see them in Protoss versus Protoss. If you're playing Colossus in Protoss versus Zerg, hopefully you have surprised that Zerg player, because otherwise you're about to die. They are really good against Terran Bio though. Bottom of B, top of C. Maybe we'll come back to this one, I'm not exactly sure, but yeah. They've just been, yeah, nerfed to oblivion. They used to be amazing. Now they're aight. Like, you will see them again in Protoss versus Terran, but yeah, they're not really all that. Corruptor. The Roach of the Sky. I mean, Caustic Spray is pretty good. They definitely can get air control, but they can't attack ground units, which kind of makes me want to put Corruptor as well in C tier. Like, they're alright. Yeah. Right? The Roach of the Sky, C tier. I think that's fine. Cyclones. Man, the Cyclone. Dying to Magfield Accelerator Cyclones is one of the most painful ways to die in StarCraft. They also recently had a change where now they do a bit of, with their lock-on, they do a bit of bonus damage to everything as opposed to just armored units, which actually I think is a buff, not a nerf. See, is like a Cyclone better than like a Colossus or an Ultralisk? I'm not really sure. They have their purpose, but you can, I mean, I really do think they're kind of a bottom of B tier unit. Now maybe I've just died to too many Terran players who do this Magfield play. So possibly this Colossus and Cyclone here might need revision. This could be whack, we'll see. Dark Templar, A tier for sure. Possibly OP even, really. DTs have a lot of utility. Like, they can just, you know, blink on top of a command center and swipe it down pretty quickly, or a hatchery. At the same time, DTs can lose you the game if your opponent is prepared for them. And you can mix them in your army, yeah, but a lot of times that gas might have been better spent in other places. They're way too good to be put in B tier. I actually think they're better than Disruptors, honestly. Maybe even better than Carriers. Well, I don't know. Yeah, bottom of A tier right now for DTs. We'll maybe have to revise that a little bit as we keep going. Pretty freaking awesome unit. I'm not sure if it's... The only things that are OP so far is Zerg units. Well, actually, we're about to change that, because here's the Ghost. Ghost is ridiculously strong, amazing unit. EMP is basically instant damage to Protoss. 3 or 4 Ghost against Protoss Death Ball makes it not a Death Ball anymore. The Protoss just kind of crumbles, you know, kind of caves in on itself if the EMPs hit. So yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say the Ghosts are OP. I don't think that's too controversial. Hellions, similar to the Heckbat C tier unit, Hellions can really heck up the start of the game. You know, like the early, like, you know, 3 minutes 30 seconds or, you know, 4-minute Hellion drop. I've lost many games to it, but your like main army composition probably is not going to use too many Hellions, unless you're, you know, playing like Battle Cruiser Widowmine Hellion and just doing run-bys over and over. Like, their mobility keeps them from being D tier for sure. Similar to how like the healing aspect of the Heckbat keeps it from being D tier, but yeah, I feel like somewhere in C tier is about right for the Hellion. High Templar, OP. Storm is just ridiculous in both PvT and PvZ. It's extremely strong and definitely OP. Possibly, I mean, they have an auto attack too, so unlike Disruptors, your High Templar won't just like derp into your opponent's army and die. They'll stand back and do less damage than a Sentry, but they, you know, they're still doing something. So I think it's safe to say that High Templar well deserved to be Protoss's first OP unit in this video. Hydralisks, I mean, they recently got buffed. Hydras are pretty solidly in B tier. I'm gonna put them ahead of both Battle Cruisers and Broodlords and Cyclones and Archons, actually. Top of B tier for Hydras. Obviously you need Hydras to make Lurkers. They can stutter step now. They're pretty fast on creep. Again, like if you're a Protoss rushing Sky Toss and just making carriers, a Hydra Viper, Hydra Infestor can absolutely crush that. They're also considering, like, I mean, I know they're kind of a glass cannon, right? Because Hydra's absolutely shit damage. Like, they do so much damage, but they only have 90 health. So, but they're also kind of cheap, dude. I mean, all Zerg units are cheap, but yeah, Hydras are not really too expensive. I think top of B tier is a safe place to put the Hydralisk. Immortals, A tier for sure. The Immortal's just solid. It's pretty rare to be in a position as a Protoss where like you would always, almost always, rather have an Immortal than have 2 Stalkers, which is roughly the same cost. Immortal's 25 more minerals. Yeah, Immortal I think is pretty solidly A tier. Super strong against Roach, really good against Marauders. The thing about Stim Bio though is that everything kind of gets rolled if you don't have Splash, which maybe puts it towards the bottom of A tier. But I don't think it's be fair to put the Immortal any lower than that. It's just a solid, good unit. Infestor. Here's the thing: you don't see too much Infestor play. You don't see too much Neuroparasite play. You know, Fungal Growth is obviously really good. Microbial Shroud, or whatever that spell is that everyone hates, actually does do amazing things against Sky Toss armies. But I think I'd be lying if I put it any higher than C tier here. You know, you might disagree. Maybe top of C tier. I still think Colossus is better. Like, it has good utility. It has good spells. You know, the burrow move is a nice touch. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know actually. This could be a B tier unit. I'm not sure about the Infestor. I might have to like go back and review these afterward. Yeah, okay, for now then we'll say it's a C tier unit and we'll stick with that. Liberators. They now only cost 125 gas. Liberators, you can literally shift click it and go do anything else, and then you'll look back at it and it has 15 kills and all the probes are pulled away and stuff. Liberator's B tier unit. It's better than a Cyclone. It's better than a Broodlord too, I would say. Better than a BC. I think this should look more like that. Yeah, Hydra, Archon, Liberator for B tier. I think that's about right. They're just solid. You can really make your opponent not want to take a fight, for sure. Especially if you have multiple of them stacked up. Liberators absolutely crap damage out and are pretty freaking awesome. So yeah, Liberator, solid middle of B tier unit. Marauder is A tier for sure. This is just a staple of Terran Bio. They do really good damage against armored units. There's a pretty potent two racks cheese you could do in Terran versus Protoss, where you get concussive shells and Marauders and kill them in a very painful way very early in the game. They don't frickin' die. When they're paired up with Medivacs, that extra health, I think they have 125 health. It takes a while to chew through all that, man, when they're constantly getting buffed by the Medivacs. So yeah, A tier unit, 100%. I think bottom of A, given where everything is sort of starting to take shape here. I think bottom of A is fair. But yeah, Marauder's absolutely solid unit. Marine is OP. I don't think there's any way you could argue that it's not. Marine, I think, deserves to be right here next. Actually, yeah, the Marine is basically the best unit in the game. It does everything you want it to do. It can go fast. You can put it in drop ships. It gets healed by Medivacs. It can shoot air. It can shoot ground. It has stem. It's mobile. Yeah, the Marine it scales in pretty much every part of the game. The Marine is OP. I also kind of want to put Medivacs up here into the OP position, but I think it's actually more true that a Medivac deserves to be an A tier. Just, they're fast, man, and just Terran can really pull you apart with Marines and Medivacs alone. You know, it's kind of like the box art classic Terran unit. You'll see Medivacs in pretty much every single Terran game, no matter what. I honestly want to move it up to possibly the top of A tier. I think the Medivac is, yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say it's better than all of these other units here. You know, I'm trying not to be too biased here when I talk about this, but yeah, the Medivac is really freaking good. Mutas. Mutas. Mutas is a tricky one. We've all died to Mutas, but when you know they're coming, they are stoppable. Putting them in your main army is, well, sometimes your entire army is just Mutalisks, and then you just win the game because, you know, the opponent made Disruptors or Immortals or Marauders or something. I'm gonna say B tier. You know, Mutas are pretty solid, but they're pretty expensive for what they really are. I think a lot of the power of Mutalisk comes from catching your opponent off guard, which is actually kind of similar to Hellion. It's kind of similar to Infestor too. Bottom of B, top of C. Yeah, somewhere in there for the Mutas. Observers, I mean, It's nice to have detection and stuff, but they're kind of slow. They're easier to spot now. They're gas expensive. They take time off the robo. Like, observers can be really good, though. I actually don't know where to put it. I mean, obviously it can't fight. Yeah, I'm gonna say middle of C tier. Seems about right. Whereas oracles are much stronger. I think oracle can be considered an A tier unit. The harassment potential is huge with the oracles. And revelation is definitely their strongest spell. Having that vision that sticks is so huge, just to figuring out where your opponent's army is. Obviously, stasis wards can be really tricky too. Not so much that the oracle is OP, but I think it's fair to say that the oracle is an A tier unit. Now then again, you're not really gonna put this in like your main army. And if you do, you're like playing like Haas or something, which kind of makes me want to drop it down to B tier. But if it's in B tier, I think it's, yeah, closer to the top. Yeah, maybe even like here would be about right. Yeah, that feels, I feel like I keep trying to like push things in the middle with this tier list. Not sure if I'm doing a good job or not, but yeah, Oracle is either low A or high B tier unit, I would say. Overseers, with the upgrade, they're so fast you could never catch them. And also, changelings are some of the best scouting in the game. And you will always have this in your army as a Zerg player. So I actually think overseers are A tier. Contaminate you don't see as often, but yeah, changelings and just the speed at which that they can scout, I think it's pretty safe to say that overseers are basically required for any mid-game Zerg comp. And you can also make as many of them as you want. Zerg can have literally unlimited detection via overseers, whereas because they don't have supply cap, right? Whereas, you know, if I'm at 200 supply, I can't make more observers. I can't make, you know, if you're Terran, you can't make more ghosts for EMP to detect, or, you know, like Protoss can't make more oracles if you're maxed out, but, you know, Zerg can always make more overseers, and that is extremely powerful. So yeah, that's an A tier unit. Phoenixes. I hope Roddy doesn't see this, but I think Phoenix is a D tier unit. They're good in PvP. There's room for them in Protoss versus Terran via Stargate Opener. You can lift tanks, you can lift mines and stuff, but I mean, they're maybe top of D tier. Obviously, they counter Banshees. They're just really not all that, though. Like, they can keep you safe if you've decided to not allow other units to do the same job, I suppose you could say. They can be really good in PvP. Phoenixes can also be like like they can be so annoying to play against. It's just you can't get rid of these frickers. But yeah, I'm gonna say that's a D tier unit. Ravengers? Are they OP? Are Ravengers OP? I mean, you can get them on hatch tech. They don't really cost that much. 75-25 for a roach. And then, so what would it be? Another 25, another 75 to make that a Ravenger. So that comes out to 100. That's pretty cheap, considering that it's a roach that now has a new spell. It also comes with armor. And yet it doesn't have an armored tag, so things like Immortals don't get a bonus against it. Yeah, dude, Ravengers are actually fucking sick. And yeah, I think OP is a fair place to put the Ravenger. I think that's just fine. Ravens, they got build time buff. They're a little bit cheaper, but auto turn's a little weaker. mean, it's detection, it's mobile, but the Raven really isn't all that. I think it belongs somewhere in... Well, actually, the Interference Matrix could straight up win you the game. In Terran versus Protoss. Again, I know I'm biased as a Protoss player. I'm thinking about my matchups, but Interference Matrix actually is really, 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 really good. And that makes me actually want to put it at the bottom of B tier instead. Yeah, I think that's fair. And, you know, the detection is nice too. Obviously, you can clear creep with it. Yeah. Yeah, I think bottom of B tier is about right. Creepers, you can scout with them. You can do a cheese with them. That's about it. D tier unit. It just doesn't scale. It's just not that great. Roaches, they're not Ravengers. I think they kind of belong near the Hydra in B tier. The thing about roaches is they don't really cost that much. Their real cost is supply. But you can burrow them, you can burrow move them, they can become really annoying. The roach is basically just like a Zerg staple unit along with the Hydralisk. Top of B tier. Yeah. Sentries. Ravenger's pretty much... The existence of the Ravenger really hurts the Sentry. Force Field used to be really good, now it's like okay. It could definitely save your hide in some very certain situations. Guardian Shield is really good in the PvT matchup. And you do get a lot of scouting with it, but on the flip side, they're pretty expensive. They don't really do much damage. And therefore, I think I'm gonna have to put it down here in C tier. I think it's better than all of these. But, yeah, it's just not that good. Siege Tank, A tier unit. You're just gonna... Terran will always make them. They're always good. They always do a lot of damage. You can use them in an all-in. You can use them defensively. Kind of a glass cannon similar to the Hydralisk, and that doesn't have that much health, but the range makes it so strong, especially combined with like Liberators, for example, or Vikings. I mean, TVT is all Viking tank, right? So yeah, that's a solid A tier unit. It's obviously better than Overseer. Is Medevac too high? Well, maybe Medevac kind of belongs like a little bit further down in A tier. Yeah, this is starting to look a little bit better. Stalker, all right. So the Stalker, So the Stalker, very expensive. DPS sucks, but it has blink. And it can be a buffer for units that actually do deal damage, like a Colossus. I feel like it's one of the shittier core units, but in PvP it's obviously very important. You can use Stalkers in PvT for the, you know, the classic timing attack. You can also do like Stalker Colossus in PvZ if you're a crazy person. But they're expensive. The DPS is pretty low. I mean, I might be biased, guys, but Stalker's a C tier unit. It's just not that good. Same with the Swarm Host. You really got to catch your opponent off guard with Swarm Host to win with them. I honestly think it deserves to be D tier. If you're down to Swarm Host, it feels bad. Like, not just Swarm Host can be a thing, but yeah, it's just not that good. Same with the Tempest, it's just really not that great. Some other people might disagree, say the Tempest is underutilized. Those people are probably better players than me. You know, I really only build Tempest when I need it to counter something specifically. So that would be like Liberators, Carriers, Battle Cruisers. And in all of those situations, upgraded Blink Stalkers could do the job better in most of those situations. So it's a D tier unit. You're a lot better off either making Void Rays or carriers, I think, in almost every situation. Now, there are almost every situation. There are specific situations where you have to play Tempests. Late game PvT, for example. But yeah, kind of a D tier unit. Thors. I actually don't know where to put Thors. Thors seem really good, and they have the highest DPS in the game, first off. And their range makes them, I mean, they win against Tempest, which doesn't seem right, but they do. They win against Broodlords, right? So where are Broodlords? Broodlords a B tier? I think Thor is a high C tier unit. Yeah, they seem like they could be all that, but they're just kind of okay. They're just kind of okay. Vikings. So you'd almost always rather be making medevacs than Vikings. Sometimes you just need Vikings, like in TVT, to get vision and to have air control. Like they're just such a solid and necessary part of that matchup. And you know, they can counter Colossus. You might build one versus a Zerg player to like clear out overlords and stuff. But I don't think the Viking is really all that. So we'll put it over here, top of C tier. I think something, you know what? Stalkers actually might be bottom of B. Stalker might actually be bottom of B tier, because you just sort of need them as Protoss. So yeah, okay. Viking, C tier. I think that's totally fine. Vipers are OP, possibly the best spellcaster in the game. Once Vipers are out, the game is forever changed. Parasitic Bomb, super good against sky-based armies. Blinding Cloud, unbelievable in ZVT. Just shuts down the tanks completely. And of course the Yoinks as well. Vipers are OP. I don't think there's any real question about that. Void Rays. Void Rays, I mean, they got nerfed again, right? There's really no reason to ever make them. I mean, if you're opening Sky Toss in Protoss versus Zerg, sometimes I like to make a Void Ray first just to kind of like be safe. It can keep me safe against like roach timings and stuff. Clear out overlords again. So that makes me think it's like a bottom of C tier unit. They're glass cannons. They're super expensive. They build slow. Marines can kill them. Stalkers can kill them. They're just not really that great. A lot of people might disagree with me on this one, but I'm saying Void Rays are pretty low in the overall scheme of things. Warp Prisms are OP. Warp Prisms, probably the best Protoss unit in the game. I'm actually going to put it above High Templar here. It's a transport, plus you can just warp in an army anywhere you want. Also, the pickup range is huge for things like Immortal Juggling. Obviously, you can do like Storm drops, Zealot drops. Warp Prism is an OP unit. It's my favorite Protoss unit. I think it's also like the most, in my mind, iconic Protoss unit. It's so powerful. The backstab potential of a Warp Prism is why Protoss has not been deleted from the game. I think they're OP for sure. As are Widow Mines. I really kind of want to put mines in the OP category. Burrowed Mines, killing your mineral line and then disappearing is possibly the most depressing thing in the game. Playing against mines can be very difficult, as Terran can scan and then kill things like observers. Mines also delete oracles. They're just really, really strong. I don't think there's any question. They're not. I think they're stronger than Ravagers. So let's look at this. I think Ghost moves up. Lurkers maybe move back a little bit. Something like. Hello? Can I? Yeah. Something like that. Yeah, mines are really, honestly, pretty amazing. This might be my Protoss bias again. You don't see mines too often in TVT, but I think Zergs can get behind me on this one. That mines hurt, man. They're really tough to play against. Zealot is probably one of the best things you can make out of the gateway. They're pretty cheap, all things considered, for Protoss. They don't do the impact damage that they used to. If they did, I think I would put them at the bottom of OP, but since they don't, they're an A-tier unit. Yeah, for sure. But they're not better than Disruptors, or Medevacs, or DTs. So middle of A-tier, I think, is about the right place to put the Zealot. You're always going to make them, you're always going to need them. But they're not really OP. They kind of just die to a lot of things too, like Widow Mines, for example, or Stim Marines. But they're a great buffer. They can force your opponent to kite, force APM out of them, and for that, they're amazing. Also, with a Warp Prism, doing Zealot run-bys or Zealot drops could be huge. So yeah, solid A-tier unit right there. Last but not least, we have the Zergling. Zerglings are either bottom of OP or top of A. Zerglings are really good. Zerglings are really good, especially with upgrades. 3/3 Adrenalings just absolutely chew through everything so freaking fast. They can always flank. They're one of the fastest, if not the fastest, ground unit. They're good for scouting. They're good as a part of your main army. Zerglings are really, really good. They're better than Ravengers. They're more common than Vipers. I really do want to move it, like, honestly, like, yeah, all the way up there. Zerglings are really good, man. You're always going to have them. They're so fast on creep, and they're just a staple. And so there, we've done it, guys. This is my StarCraft 2 unit tier list. Let me know down below what you guys think. And thanks for tuning in. All right, much love. I'll see you guys later. Peace.